All right, everyone in the Patreon. This month we are focusing on the great state of Alaska for US Bigfoot tour. So we have the privilege of our first uh, person we're going to interview regarding Alaska and Bigfoot is Jesse Desmond. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Totally. I'm excited to talk to you. I was just talking to you and you said primarily you're a paranormal researcher, which that in
Yes,
itself is fantastic. But you also got some Bigfoot stuff too. You said not
I
really,
do.
but I think you got some stuff. We're gonna get it. So is there anything else that you would like to kind of fill in regarding what it is we want people to know about you?
Well, I when it comes to paranormal stuff, I like just about everything.
Mm,
So I tend to feel like I have a lot of knowledge about a lot of different things, but maybe
yep,
I'm not the top of my field,
I
if
gotcha.
that makes sense,
Totally
because I'm
makes
so
sense.
spread out.
Mm. Um, how long have you been into things like the paranormal and Bigfoot and all that?
Well, it started when I was like really little, and I kind of went back and forth between like it was ghosts for a little bit, and then it was Bigfoot, and then it was
Sure.
UFOs and vampires and all, whatever. It just kind of came in and went. Just I'm pretty sure that's how most people are, right?
Yeah, I think you're
Um,
right. Yeah.
yeah, and I really didn't start going out and doing stuff until like my last year of high school, around like 99.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's a fair amount of time though. 99's a while back now, surprisingly.
Oh, don't remind me that.
That's wild, right? Um, have you been in Alaska your whole life then or moved there
Yeah.
or
No, I
okay,
was I was
very
born
cool.
and raised here.
All right, awesome, awesome. Do you mind if we chat a little bit about Bigfoot? Maybe I can ask you some questions and see what we
Sure.
got. All right, cool. So when we're thinking of Alaska and Bigfoot, are there a lot of Bigfoot sightings in Alaska, or what are we looking into up there?
Well, actually, there are a ton of Bigfoot sightings. What
Really?
happens is no one really wants to share them
Mm,
with anyone, and there really isn't like a reporting place. Like you can't just, if you call Fish and Game, they like to, poo-poo it a little bit. And
sure.
if you call the police, like what are they going to do? And there really isn't like a major reporting website. With UFOs, there's MUFON, there's New
Hmm.
Fork, there's a bunch of different places,
Sure.
and you don't really have that so much with Bigfoot. Um, I know that we do have a guy who's out of Tok, and his name's Michael Thompson. He runs Sasquatch Tracker, which is
Okay.
sasquatchtracker.com, and he'll gladly take sightings, but not a lot of people know about his website.
Hmm.
So there's issues like that. So a lot of stories you have to collect through word of mouth. You know,
Gotcha.
that's one of
Gotcha.
my big things is I like to go around and get those stories.
That's awesome. So you're going around and you're interviewing people then, or what does that kind of entail when you say you're getting those stories?
Well, okay, so if you make your hand gesture like this,
Okay.
I live kind of in the middle of the state. Yeah. So this would be the
Nice.
panhandle, like
Oh,
Juneau's
I
down
get it.
there,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
the Aleutian Islands.
Okay.
So I live in Fairbanks, and we're pretty much in the center of the state.
Oh, okay.
And that's like it's a big town. Most other places around are considered small towns or maybe villages, or maybe one step above a village, that
Hmm.
sort of thing. And so there's this whole um, like outsider kind of mentality. So you
Ah,
have to like visit a number of times so people see your face and people
yep.
get used to you, and then you can start getting people's stories. So it's
Gotcha.
it's not like a one-time thing. You have to repeat, repeat, repeat.
Mm, wow. And so what are you are writing these down, or what kind of things are you are doing with
I
the stories, or
sometimes I sometimes I take note of stuff. Sometimes I don't. Um, I was talking to this one trucker that I ran into down in Nenana,
okay.
and he said that he's always making this Friday run down to Healy, which is down by the Denali State Park there,
Sure.
and there he has like this continual daytime Bigfoot sighting.
Really?
So, and he told me where, and I was looking into it, and right now I'm trying to secure land permission so I can do a wildlife survey for
Oh
that
wow.
area. Yeah.
That is
So
very cool.
I don't really want to tell you where it is because I don't want anyone
No,
to.
don't. I would rather you not, because like something like that, it's like I don't want to be the person that that stands in the way of you or messes it up. Of like, that's a really cool opportunity, and I hope that actually that happens. That's pretty awesome.
I hope I get something. If I do get permission, I really hope I find something because it'd be
Yeah,
so
totally.
cool.
You mentioned in your bio you're working on a research paper. Do you mind
Oh,
talking?
that would
That would
be
be
it.
it.
The
Okay. Cool,
surveillance
cool.
project. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
My plan is to have. I have two different. Okay, so the trajectory. I mean, this guy's a trucker who's had multiple sightings, and so this Bigfoot crosses the road, and that's how he sees it. And it's
Mm,
always around like noonish,
okay.
So that's pretty solid, a good daytime sighting. And I want it to be on one side of either side of the roadway,
Yeah.
And I was thinking about putting like a feed box on either side, um, and then having like some trail cameras, set up. So I'm pretty much all ready to go. I just have to have permission.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
cool. What other wildlife might you have to be aware of that could be drawn
Um,
to those feed boxes?
well, okay, so I live right in the middle of the Tanana Valley State Forest,
Okay.
and which is huge. It's like 1.81 million acres of land or something.
Wow.
It's really big, and there's bear, there's moose,
Hmm.
um, there's fox, lynx, wolf.
Wow.
Trying to think of some ones that are in this particular area. Porcupine, which we have like really big porcupine up here.
Really?
Yeah, it's like I've seen. Okay, so I saw this one porcupine that had gotten hit
Okay.
by a truck, and laid out, it almost looked like a person that had
Really?
gotten because it
Oh
was pretty
wow.
long. It was
Oof.
yeah. I mean, usually they look short and stubby, and I don't know. It was we get some big ones up here.
Man, man. That's
We have
crazy.
little critters. But we have a lot of big critters,
Yeah.
and like the moose. Um, and if anyone doesn't know the size of a moose, it's the largest in the deer family.
That's a good point. A
So,
moose is huge. It's at the so I grew up in New England, so we used to go up to northern New Hampshire, and it was like
oh, okay, then
the moose you don't mess around with, because like you'll be driving around at dusk and they'll come towards you, but they won't stop. So a lot of people die per year being trampled in their car by moose, at least in northern New Hampshire. Like they'll walk right over the car. It's crazy.
Yeah, and if you hit a moose, like a lot of people don't realize this, like even
Mm-hmm.
if you're in a big truck, you're going to take out their legs.
Yep.
Then you have this, 1,200 pound of body
Oh
coming
yeah.
through your windshield, and so we get a lot of people who die in car accidents because of that.
It's really sad. Yeah. But it's a when you live in a place like Alaska or New England, like it's what you got to deal with. It's
Yeah.
crazy. Um, Another question about Bigfoot. So, do you find that people that you talk to are viewing the creature in a certain way, maybe as a more as um, an ape, or maybe paranormal, or like do you find that there's any common threads that come through the sighting reports?
I think the majority of the people that I run into kind of consider it to be, I think it's more like the Gigantopithecus kind of a thing,
Sure.
is or something along those lines where it's some kind of giant ape, some kind of megafauna kind of a thing. I get a couple people who tell me that they think it's related to aliens and UFOs, and I just can't wrap my head around that one.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
used to be the state director for MUFON, so I've heard a
Wow.
lot of UFO stories, and
Oof.
the Bigfoot being an alien, I just can't wrap my head around that one.
Yeah, it's a weird one. So like personally, I think it's like so what I hold is I'm like it's probably, some like big undiscovered ape.
Mm-hmm.
The cool thing about this show is I talk to like a lot of different people that have many different views, and like that's cool. So like I'm not like, if you're like UFO Bigfoot, then that's fine, no problem with that. The weird thing is like sometimes you do see like these window areas where it's like there's going to be reports of a UFO sighting and maybe reports of Bigfoot like a week after, stuff like that. That always seems to kind of be interesting, kind of like your like Chestnut Ridge, Pennsylvania area, stuff like that. But have you found that there's areas? Are there areas in Alaska where you find that there's more sightings reported, or maybe more popular for Bigfoot things?
Oh yeah, there's a couple of different hotspots around the state.
Okay.
So if you go back to our handy
Right.
dandy map here,
Yep. Yep.
down along Panhandle, you
Okay.
have the Tongass National Forest,
Mm-hmm.
Ketchikan, Sitka, Juneau. Those are all down there, and
Okay.
they have an island out there that's really, I think it might have one or two little towns on it, but it's mainly used for logging, and
Mm,
it's considered to be Bigfoot Island.
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So if you ever pick up a copy of uh, Dr. Alley's book called Raincoat Sasquatch,
Oh yeah. 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 Totally. Yeah.
yeah, he lives or used to live in Ketchikan, so
Ah.
he mentions it in his book. Um, okay, so then there's Bethel, which is, oh, I'm probably wrong on this. It's over here.
That's fine. We won't know. You're good.
It's over here, Western Alaska. They actually in their newspaper used to have a section specifically for Bigfoot sightings.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
So when Finding Bigfoot came up, they did a 2-hour episode up here in Fairbanks, and then
Okay.
an hour down in Bethel as well.
Mm.
So okay, back to our map.
Yep. Yep.
Over here would be like by Tok and stuff,
Okay.
would be the Wrangell St. Elias National Park. It's not the most popular of national parks because I think there's not a lot of big towns down that way, like Denali, you kind of have to drive through Denali to get from Fairbanks to Anchorage, and there's a train and stuff like that. So they get more people visiting that area. And then, Fairbanks is right in the middle. Right. And all throughout the Tanana Valley State Forest, which goes from like Tok kind of up and over to Nenana.
Okay.
There's crazy Bigfoot sightings there. I think almost everyone in Nenana has had like a Bigfoot sighting.
Wow, that's so wild. I can't imagine that. It's just like whatever. We all see them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've collected some really cool stories from down that way.
You got to come out with a book. Seriously. Seriously.
I'm working on a UFO book right now.
Okay. All right. I'll let you have that. That's your passion, but don't let
But it's not my only passion. How about that? I can't overdo it. I'm also putting together a Bigfoot Expo right now as well.
Which I want to talk to you about that at the end, actually, because that is really cool. Larry is involved with that too, right?
He is,
in a
yeah.
way?
He's
Okay, cool,
guest
cool.
speakers.
We'll definitely get that in at the very end. I want to get that in. Um, when you are when you think about Alaska and Bigfoot, are there certain sightings or incidents that always come up when I have one in mind I'm going to ask you about specifically, but I'm wondering if you have anything that comes up. If not, that's okay.
I don't think I really have one in particular that keeps coming up. I mean, you get like the typical knockings, and
Mm-hmm.
you hear about rock throwing and weird screeches in the night, that sort of thing. Um, I've only heard stuff, and I've only come across a footprints. That was not castable,
Oh, wow.
unfortunately.
Oh, man.
It was
What
pouring down rain.
I was just going to ask, I was like, because I've talked to guys that are down the swamp of Florida, and they have like they can't really cast those, but so it rains and messes up the track.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
This one it had just poured down rain, and it let up for about 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh my God, what is this? And
yeah,
I was ready to go, and I was like, this is not castable. I had like standing water in it and stuff. And I was just like, so.
That's a tragedy.
Yeah. And then I got in my truck, and it immediately started pouring down rain again. So,
wow. A lot of people will always like when I'm talking about Alaska and Bigfoot, it seems like the thing that always comes up is like the Port Chatham thing.
To me, that's more of a recent thing, because I didn't really know much about it until I met Larry.
Okay.
So, yeah, and then I tried to help doing a little bit of research, and I think he probably already had that research kind of covered. But I was just looking up some historical news articles and stuff for him.
And what I meant by that is like, it seems like when people think about Alaska and Bigfoot, they always think of that story where it's like that town was just getting messed up. But so you say, I'll definitely have to make sure that I hit on that in my interview with Larry that's coming up in a few days. But
well, a popular sighting just for the Fairbanks area. For a while there, this guy, he was helping a friend like build a deck, and he had to make a supply run like to Home Depot or Lowe's or something. And he was going down this road, and what goes right next to Pearl Creek Elementary School, which is kind of up in the hills. And that summer, there was a lot of forest fires all over the place.
Okay.
And so it was a little smoky out and stuff. And he was going down the road. And as he was going down the road, he thought there was like a small black bear. Sorry.
You're good.
I thought my dog was going to be quiet.
Nice.
Okay. He thought it was a small black bear along the road.
Okay.
Until it stood up, and then it went down into the ditch.
Oh, wow.
And I had a full interview with the guy, and I went out to the school, and I was hiking around, and there's a lot of ski trails and running trails and stuff back behind the school. And if this thing had been trying to get away from the forest fires, it probably would have followed the Goldstream Creek.
Okay.
Up into the area. And there's a lot of other little waterways and ponds and stuff. And if it can sustain bears and moose and stuff, then there shouldn't be any issue with it sustaining a Bigfoot.
Sure. Yeah.
There's also a little community farm area back there, back behind the school. So it probably would have had some fresh produce to pick from as well. Oh
yeah, totally. Oh man, that's crazy. Oh.
But I got like a video interview of the guy, and I put together this huge report, and I sent it down to the BFRO, and I don't know if they ever got it. So I never got a
Okay.
response.
So that just drives me nuts because what's probably happening, and okay, I don't know this, but it's like, so from talking to some of my buddies that are inside that organization, it's like some states have such a backlog and they have like one investigator for the state, and it's like could be years before you hear something, which is a shame because sometimes these witnesses, they either get like they either pass away or like
Mhm.
they get too old, and it's like, yeah, it's crazy. But uh, kudos to you for doing the legwork to I mean, even get video of it. That's amazing, of the interview.
Well,
That's very cool.
I just like I had an interview with the guy, and I made video logs for every time I went out, and I just made a report and took pictures and took note of just about everything, like what
Yeah,
animals were around there,
that's cool.
what plants were around there. I looked into the forest fire situation because we're Alaska. We always have forest fires going on in the summer,
Hmm.
and that year we had a lot of forest fires. And so I just did it because I had nothing else to do.
I got
And
you. I got
to
you.
do
Yeah.
it,
Yep. Yep.
a
Sure.
lot of people they don't take that extra step. So yeah.
This is me asking a question as a non-Alaska person. So
Okay.
it's going to include it's going to come out weird, but okay. So you have the thing where you have lots of darkness every year, right?
Yes.
Does that affect do you find, I'm curious if that affects Bigfoot stuff or Bigfoot sightings or like paranormal stuff. Have you found that it's got to affect it somehow? I don't know.
Um, a lot. Okay, so when it is dark out all the time, which
Mm-hmm.
is
Yep.
winter solstice time and stuff, people don't really want to go outside because that also means it is the coldest time.
Ooh,
So,
I didn't even think of
you
that.
know,
That's
yeah.
yeah. Who would want to go outside if it's, how cold does it get up there?
Are we including wind chill
Yeah.
or no?
Yeah.
This winter, like up at Barrow or something, I thought it was. I thought they had like a wind chill of like -90,
Okay.
something like that.
So in Iowa, we had -40 for a day wind chill. -90. That's really kicking it up a notch. Like
They don't
that's
have
crazy.
trees up that way,
Okay. Yeah.
so
Wow.
that's like at the
Oof.
top of the state.
Mm.
We usually end up having a couple days or something of, at a time kind of clumped together of like 40 or 50 below. And then, it'll warm back up
Yeah.
and cool back down. This winter has been
Crazy.
pretty warm. So by that, like, I mean, 15 below to about 15 above, just kind of back and
Wow.
forth, back and forth.
So last Bigfoot question is, if let's say the listeners are like, I'm going to go up to Alaska to look for Bigfoot, what do they kind of have to be prepared for? I mean, it's not a thing where like when you go up to Alaska and you're going squatching, like this is the big leagues, right? Like, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, my other dog looks like she's about to go outside.
Oh, if you need, go right ahead. Yeah. Yeah.
No, okay. All right. The dog door is kind of loud. I'm sorry. If people are going to come up here and look for Bigfoot, you have to understand how to layer.
Okay.
I would assume that if you're going to come up here and look for Bigfoot, it's going to be when there's little snow or the snow is going to be gone, because it's just easier to get around and you can go camping without freezing your butt off. So I don't know, like layers, extra socks, extra underwear, because if you get wet, like sometimes it's windy and it's a cold wind, and you just can't warm up, you know. You
Okay.
can't even if you take your stuff off, like it's hard to warm up.
Yeah.
So even in the middle of summer, we'll get hypothermia cases
Wow.
just because people don't know how to dress properly.
Mm.
And so it's better to have extra layers that you can take off during the day than to not have enough layers.
Definitely.
You know? And you kind of have to prepare for, you have to prepare for almost all kinds of seasons.
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Rain gear, definitely have some gloves. Even if you don't wear them, like you'll be glad that you have them.
Totally. That's good advice.
And then make sure you have all the right equipment in case you find some trace evidence. Because I'm a big true crime fan.
Okay.
Like I love the ID channel, you know, and I'm all about being prepared to collect trace evidence for Bigfoot. So I have my own trace evidence kit. I know how to use it, and I'm waiting to have to use it.
What's in your kit?
Well, I have a basic dissection kit because then you have all your tweezers and scalpels and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Of course, I have like nitrile gloves in a few different sizes, collection jars.
Wow.
Just envelopes, because sometimes you can't. Sometimes you need dry collection rather than something that could be wet collection, and like a UV flashlight with the yellow goggles, and anything I can think of that would be useful for collecting blood, saliva, hair, fecal matter.
Wow.
Yeah, a little shovel. Yeah.
I love that. That is so cool. Man, if everyone was as prepared as you, would probably have them by now. Like people just aren't prepared.
Other people have like a trace evidence collection thing out there.
So tell me about the Bigfoot Expo that you're putting together. I'm really curious about that.
It's called the Boreal Bigfoot Expo because the Tanana Valley State Forest is a boreal forest. And it's going to happen September 4th, which is Saturday. And it's going to happen here in Fairbanks.
Awesome.
The website is borealbigfootexpo.com.
Cool.
So
speakers, stuff like that, or?
Well, we're still working on it. Right now we have Larry Beans Baxter. He's really he just retired from being a city cop in Homer. Which is back to our map. It's down here.
Okay.
It's on the coast. And he's going to be talking about Port Chatham and his book, which is all about Port Chatham.
Nice.
And then we also have Michael Thompson, who runs Sasquatch Tracker. He's in Tok. He's, I believe he's Alaska State Trooper, and he works at the border station over there. And he's actually helping me put it together as well. And I think we're right on the cusp of getting this guy named Bruce Wright. And he's a ecologist/biologist from Palmer, and he's studying the Lake Iliamna monster creature.
Wow. I've never heard of that. I'll have to look it up.
Lake Iliamna is the largest lake in the state. I think it's like the third largest in the US or something. It's like 100 miles long and 4 miles wide. And it has its own lake monster or multiple lake monsters.
Oh, wow.
People in small airplanes, because it's a big fishing lake. So people with float planes have flown to land on the lake and they've
Mhm.
seen stuff in the water,
Whoa.
like just monster stuff.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
cool. I'm gonna look that guy up. That sounds cool. Easy to fly into Fairbanks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see, I think well, I know Alaska Airlines flies here, and I think Delta flies in. Sometimes we get Condor Air flights. So, you know, if you want to fly to Europe, they kind of fly
Right.
over the top of the world there.
Oh,
So
that would be fun, wouldn't it? Been some really awesome Bigfoot information. Thank you. Do you have a few minutes? I'm really curious. Like, what's it? So you said you used to be the state director of for MUFON for Alaska.
for MUFON.
What was
Yeah.
that like?
Well, okay, so it's a lot of work, not a lot of
Okay.
reward,
Ah, yeah.
and not a lot of people making sightings.
Okay.
The biggest problem is that I'm up in Fairbanks, and the majority of the sightings were coming from Wasilla, Anchorage, and down in the Panhandle and stuff. So, I can't just pick up and drive 400 miles or
No.
fly out to the Panhandle or something on a whim. So,
Mm.
it's just a lot of making phone calls and stuff for the most
Okay.
part, and feeling like you're underachieving because you can't just go out there.
Yeah, it's from what I hear, it's like pretty much like a volunteer position, right?
Yeah, it's all volunteer.
Yeah, gotcha. Do you think there's a reason why most of the sightings occur in those areas, or?
I think those are just the people who
Yeah.
found the website and made a report.
Oh, okay.
Because there's sightings all the time up here, all the time.
Really?
I run this Facebook group called Alaska UFOs,
Okay.
and I'm pretty strict. I try and keep it focused on Alaska only kind of sightings and information. And people are reporting stuff in that group like all the time.
Whoa.
All the time.
Like brand new stuff.
Yeah. I
Really?
mean, sometimes you're like, oh, that's an airplane. That's red light, green light. That's an airplane. But sometimes you never know.
Man, is there one sighting that's you're like just blew you away?
Actually, there's one that's really unusual, and it's always kind of stuck out. And
Okay.
I got the report when I was the assistant state director, and a lady in Palmer reported seeing a cube.
A cube
during the day. A cube.
Like a flying cube.
Well, yeah, and there were some other reports around that time. There was a sighting in, I think, Dallas or something of a cube UFO, and
Really?
there was like one or two others around the states. It's really weird. Like, what a weird shape.
I mean, I'm not super huge into UFOs, but I've never heard of a cube-shaped UFO. That's really weird. Wow.
Yeah, it's weird, and my first thought, of course, was like the Borg from Star Trek.
Oh yeah, totally didn't even think of the Borg.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I grew up with Next Generation, so.
Okay, there you go. Yep. Oh, that's funny.
But yeah, this lady was just a hairdresser. I mean, she had nothing to gain from it.
That's the best one.
Yeah.
Nothing to gain.
It was just, she just wanted to make a report and kind of get on with her life.
Yep.
So, I don't know.
Wow. And so when you say you're a paranormal investigator, so when I think of paranormal investigator, I'm thinking like, looking for ghosts, stuff like that. Is that what you mean by paranormal investigator? Or?
I started out with ghosts.
Okay.
I started out with ghosts because that was, it's easy. You can go to a graveyard or something and walk around and
sure.
with a recorder and a camera or whatever. And granted, when I was doing this, a lot of those shows hadn't come out yet. Because like I graduated high school in 2000. So 99 to 2000 was like my senior year of high school. And I was kind of basing
Gotcha.
stuff on what I had seen from like X-Files
Oh yeah. Yeah.
and like old Kolchak reruns, and I don't know, just like there were some movies I think that had come out and stuff I'd read about, you know. Yeah, I'm just trying to think of some of my sources, but I don't recall off the top of my head. I was just, you kind of like, there's a lot of trial and error at
Oh
that
yeah.
point. And so it's just a lot of that, and then kind of figuring stuff out. And I think Troy Taylor had a book out, and I think he was my main resource for that.
Hmm.
And then, I got a little burnt out with ghost stuff.
Sure.
I wrote 2 books.
Oh really? Oh, you did?
So one's just on, it's just called The Paranormal Investigator, and
Oh wow.
it's on Amazon if you ever care to
Okay.
look it up. The other one is called The Manual of Tools for Paranormal Investigators, and it has a really boring cover, and it just goes over like, this is the tool, this is how you use it, this is why you want to use it.
I love that.
Test it out, like try this, try that, that sort of thing, because I felt like I was always repeating that stuff to people.
Yep.
You know,
Yep. That makes sense.
so,
Have there been any cases that you've been involved with that were pretty wild when it came to investigation or
of any particular kinds,
yeah.
or well, okay, at one point, I'm not allowed to say where exactly,
Oh
but I can
man.
tell you that the group I was working with, we were allowed to go in and investigate a funeral director's home,
Whoa.
which was situated right next to the funeral house,
Oh man.
or, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it was really cool. Like they had this really narrow hallway in it that led from like where they did their embalming and stuff.
Yeah,
I guess
sure.
the embalming
Yeah.
room. I don't know if they have a specific name for that. And then so we're all kind of lined up because the hallway was only like a person and a half wide, and it led out to the freezer, the big freezer, and the garage. And
Okay.
so the funeral director was like, "Oh, let me go grab this thing real quick," and so he like went to get a key or something. And so we're all kind of like standing there, and just right down the line, everyone started smelling this perfume.
Oh no.
It was so crazy.
Oh man. Oh.
We've had lights come on, and all kinds of stuff.
Oh.
Weird
Yeah,
sounds.
I can't deal with that stuff. Can't handle it. I like, everyone likes watching the shows, but like when it comes down to it, I'm a Bigfoot guy, but I do think it's fascinating. Yeah.
The thing is, you don't always get a solid hit. There's a lot of
Sure.
misses, and that was that. I think that's why I never really watched a lot of the shows, because I was like, every time you guys are getting stuff every time, like
That
that's
is a little weird.
crazy.
Yeah, every time, guys. Yeah, sure. Exactly. Oh man.
Yeah, so I've worked with some psychics on stuff. I've gotten to know a lot of the local Wiccan and pagan groups and stuff as well. I don't know, just like I said, I have my fingers in like everything.
It really
Around
sounds like
here.
you do. Is there anything else that you haven't gotten into yet? It sounds like you're all over the place, which is fun.
Well, there are a lot of stories around here of little people. Like
Oh, this is
all the
interesting because we just had a discussion about this in the group. Go ahead. I'm very curious.
Okay. Well, all around the state, there's been there's different names for them and stuff, but it's like these little 2 to 3 foot high people, and people will be out in the middle of nowhere hunting moose or something, and they'll say that they find these little footprints that look like a toddler's footprints or something, and they'll get back to their campsite and things are moved, but they aren't destroyed. Like if it was a bear, you're going to see like gnawing and claw marks, and you're probably going to find some kind of you're going to find evidence that it was a bear.
Wow.
And this will be like those big 10-gallon jugs of water
you
can get at the grocery store. People, they usually will take like 1 or 2 of those with them when they're out camping in the middle of nowhere. And you'll find like those moved 50 feet and behind a tree.
Really?
From the campsite, that sort of thing. And it's like these things really like to mess with people. Is
there a name for them?
There's a bunch.
Okay.
But I mean, if you just say the little people, a lot of people know what you're talking about.
Oh, that's wild.
And there was a case, I think it was like 2004, a little boy went missing, and the mom said, oh, it was the little people, and the boy was returned like a week later. Really? He just like walked out of the woods a week later.
That's some scary stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was just, and that actually made the newspaper.
Really? Oh, wow.
I think it was in the Anchorage Daily News.
Man.
So it's pretty interesting.
Oh,
and
yeah.
In the way of cryptids, like I said, I collect a lot of stories.
Okay.
And I do a lot of research. One of my degrees is actually in history. So
oh, perfect.
I really like research.
Yeah.
Alaska actually has a crazy history of sea serpents and sea snakes.
Really?
Like giant things, like the body of this one sea serpent. I think they found it out of like Douglas or something. It was supposed, like if you cut it in half, it would have been like 3 feet across.
Whoa.
And they don't know what it was. And I could have sworn that one of the museums around here, or well, not here, but down in the Panhandle, actually had a specimen on display for a long time, but started deteriorating. And so they had to get rid of it like 50 or 60 years ago or something. But they had it on display, like this weird sea creature thing that they had captured.
That's wild.
Which is crazy. And I don't know if that was Douglas or Skagway or I don't know. What bothers me is I don't remember where I read that, so I can't go back and just pull it,
Isn't that the worst? Yeah. Yep, I totally get that. It's like when someone tells me about something I said in a podcast and I don't remember saying it, that really messes with me. It's like you do so many and you're like, I don't know. I don't have the right mind to remember everything, but I totally get it. But it has been super fun chatting with you, Jessie. Like, you have a good time up there, man.
Right.
I love it. Best of luck with the Boreal Bigfoot Expo coming up in Fairbanks, and that is early September date again.
September
on that
4th.
September 4th. That is awesome.
Yep.
We will definitely get the word out.
Yeah,
we'll definitely get the word out about that for you, because not a lot of Bigfoot stuff happening yet. There's a few, so anyone that happens is going to be pretty special. So I'm glad you're doing it. Do you mind taking a few minutes to kind of share with how the listeners can keep up to date with what you're doing? I know you mentioned one Facebook group already, but
well, I really wish I could just say, hey, I have this blog or something, but my blog, I do bodybuilding. So
Oh, cool. Okay. Nice.
I tend to just kind of keep it geared towards that, and I haven't
Okay.
updated it in like 3 weeks. Um, it's if you find me on Facebook, you can
Hmm.
probably keep up to date with what I'm doing.
Gotcha.
Uh, so you can just type in my name, Jesse Desmond, and it should come up. Uh, I'm in a pose where I have like I'm looking at my bicep, over at the
Nice.
gym.
Yep. Yep.
That's me.
That's awesome. Oh, thanks so much for hanging out tonight, and hope you have a great rest of your weekend.
All right, thanks.